Game number 73 is the Boston Celtics host the Phoenix Suns. Welcome into the Celtics pregame report with Josue Pavone on CLNS Radio. I'm once again joined by Dave King of SB Nation's Bright Side Sun. Thank you for joining me once again, Tom. I appreciate it.
Thanks a lot, man. Yeah, I appreciate coming on.
So the last time I had you on, you said that it was going to take Phoenix to play the best game of the season in order to beat the Celtics. And you were giving Tyler Ulis all kinds of props, and look how that turned out. Was that the best game you've seen from Phoenix this season?
It was one of the best games. I got to tell you that the Suns suddenly, when they went young, they just suddenly started playing a lot better. And right after that game, they had to shut down Eric Bledsoe even for the season because they're suddenly starting to look like they were going to win too many games for that high draft pick.
Yeah, you know how that works in the NBA. That makes perfect sense, and it's no coincidence that right after that big win, they actually lost 7 of their next 8 games after beating the Celtics in that very impressive outing against the C's, where they were able to close it out on a obviously it was a terrible turnover by the Celtics, but just for Tyler Ulis to step up and make that shot was unbelievable.
Yeah, I can't believe how the end of that game unfolded. Nobody in the building thought that was going to happen, and I don't think I've heard the arena, yell that loud in a long, long time because it was just so unexpected. And the shot actually went in by Ulis at the end. Usually those kind of shots don't go in.
So the last time we talked, we had a great conversation about where the Celtics are in the Eastern Conference compared to where the Suns are in the Western Conference. And this was all after we recorded the show, of course. I'm going to try to recreate that dialogue the best way I can because we had some really good stuff in there. And I'm going to see if we can get that going. So I remember the first thing I asked was the emergence of Isaiah Thomas, obviously. And do you ever wonder what could have been with the backcourt duo of Isaiah Thomas and Devin Booker?
Oh yeah, no, that would definitely have been interesting. I just think that though, if the Suns had kept Isaiah Thomas, he would not have been happy coming off the bench. He's not a guy who likes coming off the bench. While he's a good soldier and he's a good teammate, and the guys in the locker room love him, he was not really good to have around the team if he wasn't going to be the starter because he really thought, he would say things like, I just killed those guys in practice, which he may have. He may have done really great against Goran Dragic and Eric Bledsoe, but he wasn't going to be a starter. If, though, the Suns had kept him after trading Goran, and he could have been the starter the rest of the year or at least played like 35 minutes a game, yeah, it might have worked out. It might have worked out really good, and I could definitely see him playing really well next to a Devin Booker if that's how all the cards had laid out.
It's funny because when he came to the Celtics, he was, of course, considered to be a sixth man for the Celtics, a guy who can come off the bench, be that spark plug, put up 17, 18 points. Everyone was sort of looking at him as to be the future NBA sixth man of the year. But it's funny you mentioned that because he's
not him though.
What's that?
Not him though. He never wanted to be a sixth man.
Right. No, I was just gonna say it's funny you talk about that because the moment that he had to after the first offseason in Boston, come media day, he was not shy at all about where he wanted to be in the starting lineup. He said, "Oh yeah, I do whatever I can to help this team, but I would rather start." And of course, a month into the season, there he was, the starting point guard for the Celtics.
Well, he's obviously proven himself. So, good on Isaiah Thomas, good on the Celtics for giving them the opportunity to see him in the starting lineup and show how he can make a huge difference. He was in the MVP consideration for a while this year. He may still be in there in the top 5, 6, 7, 8 range, but we're down to the wire, and there's 4 guys that are vying for that final title this year. But Isaiah Thomas is right there with him, man, and he's had a great career so far. I'm really happy for the Celtics that he's worked it out like this.
CLNS Radio Celtics pregame report is being powered by the SeatGeek ticketing app, the smartest and easiest way to buy and sell sports and concert tickets. Get a $20 rebate on your first purchase by downloading the free SeatGeek app to your phone. Go to the settings tab and click add a promo code to enter the code CELTSNEWS. That's CELTSNEWS, all one word, for a $20 rebate, and so SeatGeek knows who sent you. Dave, who is a free agent that you would love to see the Suns go out and grab? Who is someone that's going to be available this summer that you would love to see in a Suns uniform next year?
Yeah, that's a really good question, and I hate to not really answer it, but I don't think the Suns are going to sign anyone this summer. I think if the Suns do anything, it'll be a big trade. There was rumor that they had, on the table at the last second, right before the trade deadline, an offer to make a big trade, and they just, you just can't make a decision like that in 5 minutes. when it was offered. And so if the Suns do anything this summer, it will be a big impact trade on the top end of their roster for the top end of somebody else's roster. But I don't see it working out exactly on the free agent side. Otherwise, the Suns are just going to stick with their high draft pick and see what they can build organically.
What were some of the names that you heard before the deadline?
Well, there was a rumor, and it hadn't been confirmed, that either the Bulls or the Pistons offered their top three players for the Suns' top three players. Now, the Suns' top three players are kind of debatable, but two of them clearly are Eric Bledsoe and Devin Booker. And really, the Suns are not in a position right now to trade away a 20-year-old guy in Devin Booker, who could end up being a multi-time All-Star, for either the top end of the Bulls roster, which would have included probably a Derrick Rose, who nobody really wants right now, although he would be a free agent this summer, or the top end of the Pistons roster. And I think Andre Drummond his stars started to, taint a little bit. He isn't quite the player everyone thought he was going to be. Kentavious Caldwell-Pope is great, but he really can't shoot that well. So I can see why the Suns would have hesitated, although those guys are very talented and could have been very good. In a big trade, it's just too early to give up on a Devin Booker. Now, if it's just a straight-up Eric Bledsoe trade this summer, I see that happening. I see the Suns willing to move on from an Eric Bledsoe by himself, but if teams insist on Devin Booker being included, then I don't think that's going to happen.
What about somebody like Tyson Chandler? I thought he had an incredible season last year for someone his age. He's playing as if he's still 29 or 30. I think he would be a great fit for the Celtics, a great upgrade over Amir Johnson. What are the chances the Suns would want to move him before the start of the season next year?
Oh, definitely. I think the Suns would be willing to trade him. I think they were willing to trade him last summer and at the trade deadline, but both times they're really pushing the not really make anyone mad anymore after the whole Marcus and Markieff Morris dust up and in the wake of the Isaiah Thomas trade and all that. And Tyson Chandler has been very adamant that he's very happy in Phoenix. He's happy playing for Earl Watson, and he'll do whatever, as he's winding down his career, he'll do whatever it takes to be a good mentor. But if there was a really good trade offer on the table, like a trade to the Celtics, I think he'd have to reconsider that, because that would be a really nice career finisher for him to go out on top, because I do think Tyson Chandler could help the Celtics get over the top, because he's still really good defensively. He's an excellent rebounder, one of the top ones in the game. He can finish on lob dunks. I think Isaiah Thomas was his best actual lobber, or would have been anyway in Phoenix. I don't think they didn't cross paths, but they would have been really good in Phoenix. So I think that would be a nice pairing, and the Suns would take back some kind of draft consideration. Doesn't even have to be the highest pick, and an Amir Johnson type. So I could definitely see that be a good marriage.
All right, Dave. So you talk to McDonough. I'll talk to Danny Ainge. We'll see if we can make this happen. All right? Sounds good?
Yeah, I know, right?
All right, Dave. What are the chances the Suns pull another upset tonight against the Celtics at TD Garden?
Yeah, I don't see that happening. In fact, because, like I said, after the Suns won that game, that was in the midst of a 3-game winning streak. 2 of those games against playoff teams all of a sudden right after the trade deadline, when actually Tyson Chandler was told he's going to rest for most of the rest of the year. But the Suns started winning, and all of a sudden they were winning too much. So now Eric Bledsoe is out, Brandon Knight is out for sure, Tyson Chandler's out for sure, TJ Warren is nursing some injuries. The Suns are real decimated in terms of talent right now. And some of that is by their own doing, and some of that is because of injuries. You're not going to see the same Suns team on Friday night. And the Celtics are going to win by probably 15 to 20, maybe 25 points, and it's not even going to be as close as a score. I wish I could say something more positive right now, but the Suns are intentionally, by their roster makeup right now, trying to lose games.
Yeah, we know all about that over here in Boston. We've seen that story before, so I know exactly what you mean. Real quick, Dave, before I let you go, give me your take on this whole Adam Silver sending a memo to team owners about resting their guys and threatening to penalize teams that don't want to play their superstars weeks before the NBA playoffs. What's your take on that, and what do you think the solution should be to make both sides happy?
That's a really good question, and I think if the NBA could figure that out, they would have a while ago, so I'm not going to pretend that there's an easy solution. But, they are talking about extending the season by a couple of weeks next year, so they'd have fewer back-to-backs and fewer 3 games in 4 nights and 4 games in 5 nights. So they are working toward that. And I think Adam Silver really did lay it down saying, look, if this is a national TV game, if you need to rest your guys, rest them on a night that, you're playing someone like the Phoenix Suns. That isn't a national game.
Right.
And you're not going to really make the sponsors who are paying the bills. I mean, these TV stations are the ones who are paying for all these contracts right now.
Well, Dave, I mean, the NBA now is up to what? 5 days a week they're showing games now between ESPN and TNT. Now TNT doesn't only have Thursday; they also have Mondays, the players only night. They have ESPN has the Saturday marquee matchup. They still have their Sunday. They still do Wednesday. So that's up to 5 days that they're showing NBA games. 5 days of marquee matchup, and most of those days they're double headers.
Yeah, that is a really good point because that's true. They've doubled the nights a week that they are having the national games, so it's making it even harder for teams to work around even if they wanted to those national games. I think extending the season by a couple of weeks, there's no way anyone's going to agree to play less games because the owners don't want to make less money on revenue, and certainly the players aren't going to agree to make less money just because they want to rest a night or two. So it's always going to be a battle. I think there's probably going to be some happy medium where the biggest name players rest on fewer national TV nights, and they'll work around those kind of things. But it's not really going to go away. If they could solve it, they would have.
Yeah, I just feel like this year has been the most grueling schedule I've seen in quite some time. I mean, just from seeing the Celtics schedule and what they had to go through, from the 2 West Coast road trips. I mean, there were some instances where the Celtics were leaving California to go to Texas and play a game, and then coming back to California to face the Kings and Lakers. I mean, it just didn't make sense at some points in the scheduling, and I feel like it was sort of careless in the NBA to make schedules like that so grueling on the players. So hopefully they'll be able to resolve that. And actually, Al Horford spoke about that Wednesday night before the Celtics faced the Pacers, and he pretty much said that the players in the NBA need to find common ground before the start of next season, and that something needs to change to fix this scheduling because it's been tough on them.
Yeah, I really hope they do. I know it's not going to be simple, and I know extending the season a little bit will help a little. But yeah, you're right; those travel schedules are terrible, and the Suns coach has talked about that a little bit too. They've been gone for 2 weeks at a time. They've been home for 2 weeks at a time, but gone more often than home. So I'm not really sure how the schedule got worse when they were trying to make it better, but sometimes that's what happens. You outsmart yourself. So we'll see how it works out for next season. But I do have more faith in an Adam Silver type running the league than I have in a long, long time.
He is Dave King of the Brightside Sun, SB Nation's Phoenix Suns blog. You can find him on Twitter at Dave King NBA. That's at Dave King NBA on Twitter. Dave, this was fun. Thank you for joining me, man. I appreciate it.
Yeah, I appreciate it. Yeah, well, let's do this again next season when they match up.
Well, that's going to do it for this edition of the Celtics pregame report. Special thanks to Dave for joining me and to everyone who tuned in to yet another pregame report. Be sure to check out the Garden Report after the game for all the exclusive postgame interviews from the coaches and players from the locker room. Tune into tonight's postgame show that will air immediately following tonight's game on clnsradio.com. You can call in toll free at 347-215-7771 after the game to get on the airways, or you can listen to it on demand, just like this show, anytime, any place, anywhere on the CLNS Radio mobile app. Be sure to tune into Celtics Beat with Larry H. Russell on Sunday as he will get you ready for Sunday's home game matchup against the Heat. Weekday shows air on the Celtics Newsfeed channel on iTunes, Stitcher, and the CLNS Radio mobile app. For today's Boston Celtics pregame report with Josue Pavone, this is Josue Pavone signing off.